Hey, good evening. I'm really happy to have you here. Tonight, we're going to be listening to Dimash perform Angel Love. So, I haven't heard this piece. I don't know if it's an original or not, but it recently came out, and considering that I've been more on top of recent releases for beatboxing, I figure I should do the same thing for a bunch of artists I've already listened to before, and Dimash is no exception to that. So I'm really excited to jump into this. I have no idea what's in store, but my expectations are pretty high for an exceptional artist like Dimash. So I'm really excited to jump into this, and I hope you are as well. So without any further delay, let's just jump into it.
Sen mаған махаббат сыйладың дүние дидарын құс болып ұштың самғай құс жолын іздеп талмай махаббат өмірдің бақыты махаббат өмірдің жақұты тербейді көңіл дарман армансыз өмір жалған жұлдызым сен жанған
Chills, dude.
Махаббатым, махаббатым сүйемін, сүйемін сағынамын, сағынасың білемін, сеземін бар ғұмырда тағдырымда ғажайып күйдің таңдауында бар бағымда бір өзің сүйгенім екеуміз ертегі әлемде
Oh, that flow.
тербеліп әдемі әуенге жаралып жалғыз жарасқан тағдырларымыз махаббат сезім бұл ең сұлу беретін жаныма тек сұлу жанымда өзің барда сөнбейтін сезім барда біргеміз әр таңда махаббатым, махаббатым сүйемін, сүйемін сағынамын, сағынасың сеземін, білемін бар ғұмырда тағдырымда ғажайып күйгенді таңдауында бар бағымда бір өзің іздегенім
Chills, dude. Oh, what a lovely taper.
一如往昔不知道会后的 我该迷雾涌上飞涌，这世界会好的。眼泪花变成真的，爱让我牵你手，相信希望，拥抱快乐，这一刻安静了。安静。
Ah, yeah. Oh, that was lovely, dude. First, before I talk about Dimash, I want to talk about the orchestra. That first chair violinist, beautiful phrasing in his cadences. It flowed and his tapers were so lovely. And an example of a taper would be where you're playing a note and you just very benignly let it fade into nothingness. And that first chair violinist's dynamic control was exceptional. And it just created such a powerful foundation to support Dimash. And this entire performance, every element of it, whether it was from the incredible guitar playing versus the beautiful phrasing of the piano, or the brilliant atmospheric effects from the orchestra, or just those very lovely musical phrases from that first chair violinist. All elements of that orchestra really set the tone for the piece, and Dimash was the sender of all of that. He was the one really just putting the pin in the note and saying, this is what we have to give our audience. And that was just exceptional. What a wonderful orchestra. So with that said, talking about Dimash, yeah, something that I'm going to comment on just to get it out of the way is when Dimash commits to tapers in his phrasing, it's not a taper where it's fully vocalized and then fades out. It's fully vocalized into a whisper tone and then fades out. And if you guys have watched any of my past reactions to Dimash or any other vocalist that utilizes whisper singing, you'll know that I'm not the biggest fan of it. And this particular instance is no exception of it. I would much prefer to have something be vocalized but sung at a pianissimo or a very soft volume dynamic. But that's just me nitpicking. I understand what he was going for in terms of that taper, and it's really exceptional that he's even able to maintain a strong vibrato and strong breath control within that whisper. And I think that that's wonderful technique when you are utilizing that kind of singing. So exceptional job on that regard. And with the rest of the piece, his cadences were so smooth and his diction was very clean. Even though it's a language of which I don't speak, you can tell that just in terms of his vowels and the crispness of his consonants, but having those consonants not be over dramatic or having too much stress on them. They flowed very seamlessly from word to word, from cadence to cadence, and the entire piece was just so fluid that it was so easy for me just to get lost in and just feel that vibe. Oh, it was so wonderful. I'm so excited just to jump into this analysis just to hear it again and feel that vibe again. Yeah, dude. Let's jump into the analysis. Just that heartbeat in the beginning. One might not think that it has a great deal of importance because the music hasn't really started yet, but it immediately sets an atmospheric tone, and you know the kind of sensation you're about to experience in this kind of music, especially with the lighting that's on stage right now. Just having this incredibly dark theater with very minimal light, only projecting on a sign or a spotlight on Dimash or whatever the case is, and just watching this progressive evolution throughout the entirety of the piece. Really important stuff to have that heartbeat in the beginning to set that atmospheric tone. The guitar here is such a great choice, so rich in its sound quality in comparison to the piano, having something very legato or very smooth and flow-like of the piano, and then just having something a little bit more raw in its texture like the guitar, but having the phrasing of the guitar line be very fluid like the piano, where it doesn't take you out of this more melancholic musical atmosphere, but just having these two textures and sound is very, very satisfying. And Dimash's voice here in his hum, very gentle, very smooth. It was a beautiful inclusion to that musical line from the piano and guitar.
Сен маған махаббат сыйладың дүние дидарын құс болып ұштың самғай.
So there was a time when I sang a piece in Hebrew, and singing in Hebrew is pretty challenging because in contrast to something like German, where a lot of the consonants and vowels aren't necessarily guttural, they're very forward, like ich, the comes through very directly, where Hebrew has a little bit more of that guttural H. So it is very difficult to not constrain your vocal cords as you are singing very legato, very fluid and smooth lines. So to be able to not have those guttural, breathy sounds impede on the texture of how smooth this cadence is pretty challenging, and Dimash is executing it pretty well here.
сыйладың дүние дидарын құс болып ұштың самғай.
Yeah, dude. Just feeling that gentle nature. Even in that slightly gritty texture, you still feel how soft it is, how robust it is. Love that.
Құс жолын іздеп талмай.
Dimash is doing something that my voice teacher always criticized me on when I was performing. He crinkles his eyebrows here when he's singing, and that's an emotional response to what's being sung, and I do it intrinsically, and Dimash seems to be doing it intrinsically as well. It's not something you really pay attention to when you're performing. You just allow this emotion to enter your being, but you don't allow it to affect your voice. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect your body in some key ways, such as in your face. And the reason why my voice teacher always commented on relax your forehead, relax your face, is because the more tension you have in your body, the more that will ultimately affect your voice. Even in areas of your body where you might not think that it affects your voice, such as your forehead, in some key ways it actually really does. And briefly explaining why is because the more tense a particular part of your body gets, the more constricted all elements of your body gets. So say if you're taking a very important exam, for example, and you're really struggling on a couple of the questions on it, you can feel that tension in the entirety of your body, even though it's just a mental frustration or struggle, where it's very similar to not just feeling elements of stress, but any emotion. And if you feel that emotion permeate throughout the entirety of your being, and you're focusing on not letting it affect your vocal cords, it doesn't mean that it's not going to affect your body in some key ways. And ultimately, as much as you try not to have it affect your voice, and your sound can still be really beautiful, and the way you perform can still be exceptional, and all of these elements are still very wonderful and brilliantly executed. There's just that slight feeling of tension that you still get in your body, and it's hardly audible, but it is a feeling of, if you were to approach your friend and your friend is smiling and they're just beaming energy and you haven't even spoken to them yet, you haven't even exchanged greetings, you just feel that sensation in your body of happiness. You're happy to see your friend happy. Or if you see them in distress, even before exchanging greetings, you feel a sense of stress, of empathy with your friend, and you immediately internalize their feeling of distress into you and try to work out a solution to overcome it. And with Dimash, when he's emoting this kind of emotion where his forehead is a little bit crinkled, in my heart, as I'm experiencing the music, looking at him, I feel this element of stress. It's not overpowering, and I'm still flowing with the music very gently, but it doesn't mean to say that that element of stress isn't there. And I do feel that in my body as an audience member. And whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing is completely subjective. Some people like that feeling of stress because it allows one to engage more with the artist and what they're feeling in the piece, and some people just completely are repulsed by feelings of stress. Personally, I actually quite like it because I really enjoy connecting with the artist regardless of what it is that they're experiencing. But that being said, it does contribute to a certain level of tension in his body, and it is just something to keep in mind. For most artists, and I would say in this case that Dimash is no exception, this is an inveterate habit and something that is highly unlikely to change just because it's how we as human beings express emotion. So I'm not necessarily even saying that this is something that is his fault. I'm just saying that it's something to more or less be aware of.
Махаббат өмірдің бақыты, махаббат өмірдің жақұты.
His phrasing is beautiful. Oh my gosh.
Тербейді көңіл дарман, армансыз өмір жалған, жұлдызым сен жанған.
He keeps tapering in this whisper, and every single vocalized line he does is just gorgeous. It flows so smoothly. And for those of you that really love his whisper endings, you know, this is your dream right here. He is so good at manipulating his voice from seamlessly going into a vocalized sound into that whispered tone and letting it fade away. Again, it's not something that I necessarily care for. I wish it was fully vocalized. But that being said, it doesn't mean that I still can't appreciate the technique and skill required that goes into producing that kind of seamless transition between those two vocal styles. And that's really exceptional stuff. I love that. Just having that very light mezzo piano or medium soft to piano soft volume in that first part of the cadence, that musical phrase, and then touching on that higher note in just a little bit of a louder dynamic or volume to where it's mezzo forte or medium loud, and then immediately sinking back into this mezzo piano kind of cadence, and just showing this level of consistency throughout this phrasing. It's very fluid, but also incredibly well controlled. It's like existing in a lazy river, but he's manipulating the intensity of the stream itself, the current, and it's just so wonderful. Oh, yeah, dude. Just the way he grew in and let it fall back a little bit. There's so much dynamic contrast in this piece, and just really emphasizes this ebb and flow of the entirety of the piece. Even though it's so controlled and precise, it feels so fluid and free. And this is what I always mean by an artist or a performer building a world and taking you by the hand and guiding you through it. He is doing an exceptional job of building this world and guiding you through exactly where he wants to take you, even though it feels so free and open, and it's an open world experience where you're free to look around and engage with a myriad of aspects of it. He's still providing you the path of which you can traverse down and follow him through this very fluid and open world. And it's just remarkable. Really great leadership in this musical groove, this flow. Oh, I love it. Oh, just the way that cadence was formed. It flowed so beautifully. Let's listen to that again.
Махаббат сезім бол ең сұлу, беретін жаныма тек сұлу.
Oh, just the way he ended that. It was very quick. Instead of having it linger and taper, it just ended there very gently, not abruptly. It still fit within the context of the flow, but you can tell that particular sentence had, even without understanding any of the language, we could translate it, but I'm not here to analyze the particular messaging of the piece, just the music and the performance and the feelings and execution that I'm picking up on. And you can just tell in that particular cadence that there's a stress and emphasis on what that was, on the inflection of the message of that, and I felt that, and that is the mark of exceptional execution. And he's rolling his R's so gently. Like, listen to that again. Yeah. And just the accents and the guitar line just add so much more character and so much more depth to this kind of atmosphere. It's gorgeous. So the way that Dimash was really leaning down and bending his back there, I'm a huge advocate of, if you are performing something and emoting an emotion and you need your audience to feel that particular emotion, then naturally you're going to sacrifice some technique in order to achieve that atmosphere, that emotional response you're driving for. And this is a great reflection of that. His back is, at least from this appearance, it's curved, meaning that it's not straight, that he's not able to intake as much air. But I'm sure he's already thought of this, and he already knows his lung capacity, how much breath he needs to intake. But even beyond that, when you keep a straight spine, you allow your diaphragm to expand, not just in its entirety, but free from stress or any sense of bodily restriction that would prevent you from taking in a full breath. So in this particular section, he understands that by doing this, that full breath isn't going to fully engage with the upcoming musical lines, but I'm assuming right here where he makes the choice to say, I think the emotional connection of this particular section is more important than the full breath that might be needed in order to execute this upcoming line. But just judging based off of where we've been in the song, his breath placement has been so exceptional, where he's taking very quick breaths, and when he really wants to connect two musical phrases or cadences together, and at the very end of cadences where it's a definite period, end of sentence, moving on to a new paragraph, let's say, that's when he really allows this stronger pause to fully engage his breath, fully engage his body in the breath, and begin a new musical sentence, a new paragraph, let's say, and on a very strong note, on his best foot forward. So in this particular section where one foot is up, the other is more down, where both feet aren't firmly planted on the floor, where his back is being bent, his breath support is not being devastated, but is definitely not anywhere near as strong as it would be had he been in a more upright, proper position. But that being said, it's completely his choice to evoke a stronger emotional response by moving his body in such a way, and he finds that to be more important than the breath itself. And honestly, I really respect that. I think the performance is what matters the most, and in these types of performances, for most people in the audience, I'm making the assumption that they're not all vocalists and they're not all just judging him based solely on his technical execution. Typically in music, especially if you're just a fan of music and don't really understand why, you just like how it feels, you just want to enjoy the performance. You're not going to criticize or scrutinize or any of that. You're just there to feel and to connect and to enjoy. And he makes the very intentional decision to lean into those attributes, into those elements, and fully express this dynamic emotional range. And I really respect that, just on a performance level and as an artist. Just looking into his eyes, you could just feel that raw emotion coming through. It's so palpable. Yeah, and that lighting is just so heavenly. Oh my gosh. But just the way that this first chair is just bowing this, oh my gosh, it's just beautiful. The structuring of his cadences just further emphasize and bring so much more strength to this ebb and flow feeling. Oh, it's gorgeous, dude. Oh! Chills. Oh my gosh, that line going, oh. Ah! Oh. It's so delicate, his line here. And what a beautiful trill going up into this note high in the stratosphere. And just a beautiful vibrato in that note way in the stratosphere, and it beautifully tapers out. Oh my gosh. Chills, dude. I want to listen to that one more time.
会好的。
Oh my gosh.
我该没有用上费用，这世界会好的。眼泪花
Oh, that intensity, that was perfect.
会好的。眼泪花点着山岗。
This is my favorite element of Dimash's voice. Just this big, round, robust, powerful energy that's just fully vocalized. Like, even though his back is still bending here, just the level and depth in his legs right now, where it's not just a slight bend, it's a full connection with the earth. You can just feel the level of support that's coming through his body right now in this direct, big sound he's generating. Oh my gosh, it's exactly where it needs to be. Just in this real climax of the piece. Yeah, dude. Everything's been building to this moment, and you just feel that in your heart. It's amazing.
眼泪花，我点着山岗，爱让我牵你手，相信希望，拥抱快乐，这一刻安静了。
Yeah, and I recognize the emotional breath after the whisper tone, and it's definitely there to keep evoking a specific emotional response. Personally, I don't need it, but I know that many people in the audience really felt that kind of breath that came through, and I respect the choice for sure. I wish audiences did not clap until the performance ends. Just because you know that the piece is ending, that the final chord is upon us, or that the final chord is already being executed but hasn't finished yet, let it finish. Stew in this energy. Stop clapping. Stop applauding as the performance is still happening. Just experience the end of the journey. Just imagining that you're living in some country and you decide to take a road trip throughout the entirety of that country. And as you're coming home and now you're in the same city from that road trip, you don't just stop the car and say, well, I'm home because I'm back in my city. No, you complete the journey by arriving back at your place. And it's not like you're just completely not paying attention to everything around you just because you're in that same city. You know, still appreciate the rest of the journey, even if you're in a place that's very familiar, like your own city, like your home city. You know, just enjoy the rest of the journey, fully experience everything that's a part of it, and the moment that you enter your home is the end of the journey. But appreciate everything that's been happening, even if you're in a place that is now familiar, like your home city, or like the final ending one chord here. Let it finish. Enjoy every moment, even to the last dying breath, you know? I really want to stress that because I'm definitely someone who loves experiencing something in its complete entirety. And for people to start clapping when there's like 30 seconds left of a piece, it's like forcibly ripping me out of a world when the artist is still trying to guide me through it. And just please let the artist finish is my point. Beautiful. Just an exceptional performance, remarkably executed. I felt everything just moving through that journey. It was such a wonderful piece, and every element of that, from Dimash to the rest of the orchestra, and everything worked. It was performed, I'm assuming, completely as intended, and I felt every element of it. It was just magic. I love feeling these things when I listen to performers. Remarkable world building and a really strong guide to lead me through it. Very well done. Very well done. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If y'all liked it, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you didn't like it, please leave a dislike and let me know why in the comments below. I do read all of the comments, even if I may not heart or reply to all of them, so please just know that your comments do not go unnoticed, and I do take them into consideration as I make future videos. I've been running into issues with copyright and personal just computer problems in terms of developing my Patreon, and I'm still navigating through it, so I really appreciate your patience as I continue to do so. My live streams are Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so if you guys would like to stop by and say hey or ask any questions about me or the channel or anything, I'd be more than happy to be there for you guys. I want to take this time to express my deep and heartfelt gratitude for you guys being here and watching these videos, and I really do appreciate it, so thank you so much, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone.